I want to talk about Deion Sanders. Actually, ESPN. I have a video I'm going to bring up, and I want to get your thoughts on the video. But ESPN commentator Paul Finebaum, I don't know how to say his
Finebaum. Yep. Yeah,
Finebaum,
Finebaum.
Finebaum. Okay, spoke on his gave his thoughts on Deion Sanders in Colorado. All right, so the video is going to play great today, right, guys? That's what we're going to
Yes,
say.
yes.
Here it comes.
Anyone asking whether Deion Sanders and Colorado are close to the playoffs simply doesn't understand the reality of the road. They're not going to the playoffs this year, and I'm not sure Deion Sanders is ever going to get them to the playoffs because I don't think he has the patience to stay at Colorado long enough. There's so many misconceptions out there. Deion Sanders is the best salesman I've ever seen. I personally love the guy and for what he stands for, but the program looking out has a ridiculously inflated view of itself. I heard Shedeur Sanders, who's a fabulous quarterback, say last week, "We are everyone's Super Bowl." Shedeur, you are not. You are an easy win nowadays. You got off to a phenomenal start last year, beating a couple of mediocre teams that had big names. And quite frankly, you haven't done anything since other than crash and burn. So I know that the media loves this story. We fall all over ourselves. But Colorado isn't important in college football. Deion Sanders is. He's a standalone person. He's one of the most charismatic people we've ever seen. But Colorado is nothing. They don't matter. They're irrelevant in the big picture of college football.
They are relevant in the big picture in college football. What are your thoughts on what I'm gonna just call him Paul? What Paul said on Coach Prime in Colorado. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first on this one.
I disagree with all of that, I think. Because number one, they are, he said they're not important in college football. I completely disagree with that. You can be, even if you don't think they're good, that doesn't mean they're not important. The TV ratings, the fan attendance, the social media interests would tell you that they're important. So I completely disagree with that. Can they make the playoff? Well, we're going to a 12-team playoff this year, right? And if you look at their schedule, I mean, stop me when I come to a team that they don't have a chance to beat. North Dakota State, Nebraska, Colorado State, Baylor, UCF, Kansas State, Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech. Like, are you telling me like they don't have a chance to win those games? Because their schedule sets up really nice. Now, do I think they're going to be one of the best teams in college football? Like, do I think that they could compete in the top 10 of college football? Probably not. But they do have an outstanding quarterback. And if you have a great quarterback, it can really fix a lot of woes. If they can figure out how to protect him, I think they have a chance to be good. And because their schedule is kind of light, I do think they have a chance to make the playoff. I probably bet that they wouldn't, but I think they have a chance. And then the last thing about being everyone's Super Bowl, I kind of disagree with that too. Now, I think they created that themselves with all the hoopla and the fanfare and flashing the watch and all that stuff. But I do think when teams come to play them, they're like, hey, we got to beat Colorado. Like, so I do think teams get up for them. I don't think teams are just like, oh, this is another game on the schedule. So I disagree with everything Finebaum said in that interview. I disagree with all of it. And even in that being said, no, I don't think they're like a top 10 team, but I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be decent.
Yeah, I think me personally, I think that they're going to be better than what they was last year. If we know Coach Deion Sanders, whatever the heck you want to call him, he has a competitive edge to himself. He understood last year what went wrong, or what was part of the reason what went wrong. And that offensive line was horrible. They had no protection for Shedeur whatsoever, not one. He was constantly on the run, especially when they went up against the better competition in the college game. If you're sitting back, if Paul is sitting back thinking that's going to be the same team that's on this field, or that's going to be the same offensive lineman on the field as it was last year, I think has not paid attention to Deion Sanders as I would like for him. Because every level he has competed at a very high level. And when things don't go right, he gets rid of those coaches, first the coaches go. I think he got rid of some coaches this past year as well. They're the first ones to go. And then he real quick and saying, you know what? You're not doing as a player, you're not doing what I need you to do for the team to succeed and for you to succeed individually. You got to go as well. And we've seen that again this year. You know, a lot of players left. They were out. And I also don't believe it was just because they chose to be out. Some, yes. I also think Deion Sanders went to him and said, young man, I suggest you enter your name in the transfer portal because you're going to get cut from this program. And Deion Sanders is not scared to say that. He's not scared to say that. He came in with a suitcase saying, my son's going to be the quarterback. And what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you could do about it. Him being a salesman, I do think he's a little bit of a salesman. So I kind of agree with that one. But he's a promoter. That's what he does. That's what, I mean, he's been doing that since he was the player. Exactly. Sell yourself.
He's been doing
Everybody. Exactly. Everybody should be selling himself. To me, there's nothing wrong with being the salesman. And I agree with you, Jay. We are everyone's Super Bowl comment that Shador made. I thought they were. Everybody played that much harder. The opposition played that much harder because of who they were going up against. You even heard the coaches say that as well. The coaches will attack Deion and say, we're going to rip them apart and we're going to get at them. And then when they beat Colorado, understanding that it's only 1 year in. This is 1 year. 1 year, guys. It's not like he's been with Colorado for 12 years. This is his first year. They got all riled up and all excited like it was the national championship game. I'm just like, this is just a regular game. But do I think they're going to be an easy one? I absolutely do not think they're going to be an easy one. I think there's enough talent on this team. I think they went out and got some talent. They got some good coaches. I know they brought in Warren Sapp, I believe, to be the D-lines coach, if I'm not mistaken. And they did lose some players in the transfer portal. But I think Deion Sanders understand what to expect. He understands, you know what, this is the level that I need us to get to this year. And then hopefully next year we'll go to that next level. I think they'll make the playoffs based off the schedule that Jay just said. I don't think they're going to go to the national championship. I think they still got some more hurdles they got to get over. And being that Shador and Travis Hunter may come out this year in the draft, that's going to be another hurdle or another obstacle he's going to have.
They're going to win. They better win now because I don't know what the year after this is going to look like.
Right. He's going to have to try to get around as well. But I do agree. I don't think he's going to stay but so long, being that his kids are getting ready to get out of there. I think he'll stay maybe a couple more years, but he looked to go elsewhere, especially with the NIL deals as well. And the ruling that just came down on the NILs. But K-Walk, what's your thought on what Paul said about Deion?
Yeah, it was funny because I was trying to look up I was sitting here trying to look up the reporter, the female reporter that was next to Paul Finebaum. I don't know if you guys caught her reactions and everything. I can't think of her name. And I was watching it live yesterday too when it all went down. I can't think of her name, but nonetheless. Yeah, she was when she was trying to hold in her laugh. She was like, "Yeah, I'm not agreeing with this. I'm not agreeing with what you're talking about, Paul." But yeah, that was priceless. Nonetheless, I don't know if you guys picked that up or not. But yeah. But Paul. I think Paul. I don't think he believes that. I think he's just tired of the prime hype. I think that's what it is. Kind of like we were, or I don't say we. Kind of like I was. When it all went down, you're like, yeah, they're going to come crashing down to reality. They're going to come to reality. I know they went on that 3 or 4 game winning streak. Yeah. I said when they start stomping, trying to stomp with the big dogs, we're going to see what they're really about. But right now they got to do it now because you guys alluded to is that Shador is going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Travis Hunter is going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate, and then next year when these guys they're both going to go. I know Travis Hunter is going to go early first round. Shador may go late first round, early second round. He'll be a high.
They got Shador projected as like the number 2 pick right now. Right. Who knows how it's going to pan out? But they got him as the number 2 pick right now.
Well, exactly. So crazy. I know he was going to go high, but I didn't know he was going to go that dang high. But nonetheless, I mean, the Coach Prime, the Coach Prime, and everything that we're talking about, and when Paul Finebaum talking about, he's relevant, but Colorado State isn't relevant. I mean, Colorado isn't relevant. I mean, if if Prime is relevant, then Colorado is obviously relevant. I mean, because he's coaching there, and he'll tell you that, in your face, Paul. I don't know why you felt the way to come at him in that sense, and that's why the female counterpart there, she was like, I'm not, and she even said, she's like, listen, they're going to be relevant because of Coach Prime. She wasn't having any of what Paul was saying, and I'm not having any of what Paul was saying either.
Mm-hmm.
But Jay, based off of that schedule, I didn't see their schedule, and I didn't know their schedule until you mentioned it a little bit earlier. But they have a chance to go to a bowl game. I mean, with that schedule,
Easy.
at least
Yep.
a bowl game. I mean, they 6 wins get you in. So I think
Easy.
that's very doable. And
Yep.
Britt, you mentioned all of the changes that they made from the coaching standpoint, or not all of them, but the few changes that they made there, and also the offensive line. They revamped that as well, which is a big Achilles heel for them last season. And then you got an older Shador, you got an older Travis Hunter, and you got an older Shiloh, thank you. Older Shiloh as well. Shiloh, I think he has some stuff to work on. He has some stuff to work on. I know he got hurt in the latter part of the season, but I think he'll be ready to go, and he'll be early round, maybe like a top 3 first round. I mean, top 3 pick as far as rounds go. The first 3 rounds, he'll be picked there. But yeah, he's got the talent right now, but they have to do it now. Now, after this season, that's when we're really going to talk about and see what he's able to do as far as replacing Shador, replacing Shiloh, and then replacing Travis Hunter. So, but I think they're very relevant, without question, and everyone's going to gun for him because of the fact of the matter is it's Coach Prime.
Absolutely. And my thing is, I can't wait for that first Coach Prime press conference, right before the season starts, when they
it's coming out
after hearing because if you don't know, you better know now. Deion heard what you said. Coach Prime absolutely heard what you said. I know said
Ask
don't
Tim
call Deion
McCarver.
Coach Prime.
Ask Tim McCarver.
Right.
I don't know if you got him with Tim McCarver.
Water, the ice on the head or water on the head. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's listening, and the fact that I don't understand why people underestimate Coach Prime. Where and during his career, whether a player or coach, do you feel it's okay to I mean, granted, people are going to underestimate you regardless of who you are, but just based off his resume, people have underestimated. He has once again proved you wrong. So I'm not going to doubt Coach Prime.
No,
I'm not going to go against him. I'm not going to doubt him, because eventually he's going to get this thing together. He understands there's a process to this. He's been on, like I said earlier, he's been coaching at every single level, and every single level he has won. So he understands there's a process to this. So I would not be surprised even if when Shador, Shiloh, and Travis, those are 3 big names to lose.
Facts.
Within the next couple of years, Colorado's going to be. I can't put them in the Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan category, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're the tier under within the next couple year or two. But we have a comment here. It says from Greg. It says, Paul was wrong, but I do need Colorado to be better than they were last year for sure, but they'll be all right. I absolutely agree with this.
Yeah, I agree with that too. They have to be better. I think they will be better. They added 42 new players, so they revamped the roster. And he's right. I mean, they have to be better, because if you're going to talk the talk, which they do, if you're going to be flashy, which they are, then you got to figure out a way to win more than 3 ball games. But I think they're better, and I think because of the schedule, I think they have a chance to win a lot of games this year.
But who says that adding? You didn't say this, Jay, but I know some people are thinking about, like, wow, 42 new players is kind of, that's kind of crazy. But with the transfer portal, they're not the only school that's doing this. The transfer portal, players are hopping in and out of that transfer portal left and right just because they feel like it, as we well know. Now, unfortunately, for some players, it's not working out well because they're not getting picked up at all. But others, they have enough talent, they're getting picked up wherever. But quick question to you guys, we kind of talked about it. Or K-Walk, you alluded to that Shador maybe number 2 is being looked at as number 2 in an NFL draft coming up.
Early mock drafts.
Or Jay
said that.
Had
him at
Jay said that.
Yep.
Jay said that. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts on Shador? Do you guys feel based off what you've seen the last couple of years at Colorado, do you feel he has the talent to be drafted that high? Anybody can take it.
Go ahead, Jay.
I do. I think he's really, really, really good. Like it didn't take me long. I remember watching their first game last year, and he threw like a 15-yard out route. And I think I texted y'all or texted the thread, Shador's for real. And I don't think there's any question that he's an outstanding quarterback. I don't think the quarterback class is that great. I think Carson Beck at Georgia is the only guy that they have ahead of Shador right now. So I do, Britt. I think he's really good. And if they can protect him, you got to remember last year he was running for his life. He had no protection at all. If they can protect him, we'll get a chance to see how good he really can be. But I absolutely think he'll be worthy of a top 10 pick. I don't know if he'll go 1 or 2, but I think he's absolutely worthy of a top 10 pick.
Okay, Walk, any thoughts on Shador?
Yeah, I agree with Jay there. I mean, looking at the quarterback class next year, we talked about this class, this class this year in 2024 not being that deep, and I think him being ranked where he is and him the way he played last season, I think he'll be right up there. I mean, if Daniel Jones can go 7, why can't Shador?
Exactly.
I'm just simply saying. And I really believe, I believe, and I think he'll get better. I think he's going to be working with a lot of different pro type guys, and Deion's going to get Coach Prime, is going to make sure that he's prepared. All of those guys, not just him, but specifically for him. I mean, he's going to be having a little extra attention for obvious reasons. That he's going to be working with some of these guys, these quarterbacks. I forget the quarterback guru that works with a lot of the players coming out of college. I forget his name. The black gentleman. I forget the African American coach. Can't think his name escapes me, but yeah, he's going. I bet you he'll be working with him. So and I think he'll have a decent. I think he'll have a decent career. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and lead teams to playoffs, but I think he'll be relevant to steal for Paul Finebaum's word there. I think he'll be relevant in the NFL for sure.
So this is not going to be a LeBron Bronny situation. You think?
No, definitely not. He's worthy of being there. Yeah, he's worth no
shots fired.
Yeah, for sure.
Put him away. And I'm just kidding. I had to steal that from Kate. And last question on the Colorado topic before we move on to our next topic. Travis Hunter, because I've seen some rankings. Some have him going early. Some have him going around the 5th round, which is pretty late for a talented guy like that. As we both know, he plays both wide receiver and cornerback. I know a lot of people want him to choose when he goes, prior to the NFL draft. Actually, before he even finishes his college career, they prefer for him to stay on one side of the football versus playing both. Just give me your thoughts on Travis Hunter, and do you think, I know we talked about this a long time ago, but do you think he should choose let me correct that. Which side do you think he should choose, and if he should stay on that side entering into the NFL draft? Whoever.
I mean, I don't think he should choose, to be honest with you. But it's the NFL, so they're gonna have you choose. I think he's valuable on both sides of the ball. You get him in that right offense, that right team, he could be valuable on both sides of the ball. But if he has to choose, I think defense might be his best bet there, because as a defensive back, and you understand, and as a receiver as well, you understand the intricacies of route running and things of that nature. Right. So he has an understanding of that, and so he has an idea how to look at receivers, when they're going to drop their hips, when they're going to turn their head and things of that nature. So I think he'll be a heck of a cornerback. But I really think he could be a solid receiver, but I think he'll be even better cornerback. He'll be like a Prime, because he minus his speed. I know he's got some speed there. He doesn't have prime speed, but he has decent speed. But yeah, I think corner or slot, he could even play the slot as well, slot deep, cornerback there. So I think if he has to choose, he should go D-back, in my opinion.
Jay, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was actually going to go the other way. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's obviously really talented at both positions, but I actually think he's a little bit further along as a receiver. I think
Definitely.
back to
He's
that
good.
Colorado State game last year, and he was really not good in
Yeah.
coverage that game. I mean, I think that receiver had over 200 yards on him, and a lot of it was just straight man to man defense. And I think
Right.
part of the problem is when you're trying to do both,
Yeah, I
you
think he was a little
probably
tired.
suffer a little bit. To your point, K
Mhm.
Walk, tired, but also technique. Like
Yeah.
to be a
Yeah.
really good cover corner, there's a lot of little technique things that you really have to perfect. And I just think when you're trying to do both, it's hard to do. And K Walk, I'm sure you could say the same thing about receiver, that there's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
little nuances that
Yeah.
you have to figure out.
Right.
If I was him, I think if they force me to choose, which eventually he'll have to, because he ain't playing
Right.
both ways in the NFL. It's just not
Nah.
going to happen. I'd probably play offense, and then maybe if they need some spot defense here and there, maybe he can do that. But I think I like him more as a receiver.
Do you think, Jay, because there's a lot of wide receivers a lot of talented wide receivers
That's
in the
true.
NFL.
Yeah.
Do you think that could potentially impact him if he chose wide receiver? Could that impact his draft stock? Because there are way more talented wide
It's a
receivers.
great point.
But
It's a
Yeah,
great
it
do
is.
point.
you
It's a great point because if you're an elite corner, you
Mhm.
can't find those guys just standing out on the street,
Right.
right? If you're an elite corner. But I think to your point, Britt, I think it's easier to find a really good wide receiver than it is to find a really good corner. So yeah, I think there'd be more competition from the wide receiver position. But I thought I saw him like projected to go like number 9 or number 10 in one of the mock drafts. So I think he's going to go pretty high no matter what, just because
Yeah, I
of
think
the
so. Yeah.
athleticism that he brings to the table. And then they'll get him in camp and figure out what they should do with him.
Yeah, somebody recently said, I heard it, and they was like fifth round, fifth round pick,
What?
fourth
What
or
are you
fifth round
seeing these
pick. And
Somebody
I
was
was
rankings?
just
hating.
like,
Somebody
and I
was
was just
hating.
like,
Uh,
well, wait a minute. And it was on ESPN. And I was like, well, wait a minute. This kid was actually a
who's that?
good
Paul Finebaum?
player.
Yeah, it might have
It might
it
have
might have been
been.
Finebaum.
It might
Yeah.
have been. And real quick, because I know we got to move on. Because I know we started a little late, but do you think his size can impact him as well? Because he is a smaller guy, similar to Emmanuel Forbes, who's with Washington. I know he got benched because he just couldn't handle certain physical type of receivers. Do you think that can impact him as well? Anybody can go.
Yeah, it could, Britt. I mean, when you talk about today's receivers, man, today's receivers are just like the ends back in the day, just faster,
Mhm.
bigger, stronger, faster.
Right.
I mean, i.e. AJ Brown, just to name the one that sticks out to me the most as far as being the most physical. Even Devontae Adams as well. But yeah, I mean, but nowadays I mean, you're really not allowed to touch the receiver anyway, to be
Hmm.
perfectly honest with you. But when it comes to those 50-50 balls, that's when you really got to ask yourself, can he really, play with those big guys? Can he really be physical? Can he out physical those guys if comes down to a 50-50 ball? It could hurt him. I mean, there's going to be, anytime that you have a draftee coming in, you're going to see his strengths, and then you're going to see his weaknesses, and he's going to do his best to work on all of that. But I think he's a great athlete, like Jay mentioned. We're talking about whether he should play both sides, what side of the ball he should play in NFL. So
Hmm.
that just goes to show you that he'll be able to adjust no matter what side of the ball he is. But if we're talking about defense, I think he'll be able, to handle that. If not, just hold on to the legs until help arrives. If worst case scenario, you know what I mean. So
Right. Jay, any thoughts on his size being an impact on?
Yeah, I mean, he does have a slight build. I mean, there's no
Mhm.
question about that. I think he's going to have to get stronger. He probably has, honestly, in all the
yeah,
work that he's probably been doing in the offseason. But there are some receivers in the league that do have a slight. I mean, look at who is it?
Devontae
Devontae
Smith.
Smith. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, he's a very
yeah,
slight build as well. So I think
Okay.
as long as you can figure out how to protect yourself and know that you have a slight build,
hmm
I think you'll be okay. But to K Walk's point, when they're putting together the strengths
Mhm.
and weaknesses and the pros and cons, that'll definitely be something that probably works against him.
yeah.
Yeah, it's for me, it's going to be interesting. Because Devontae Smith, like you just alluded to, his slight build, but he plays much bigger
He does.
than what he is, and he
And I
knows
think
he
he's
understands
taller too, maybe. How tall is Devontae?
he might be about 6'1".
Okay. Because he
Yeah,
looks taller
6'1".
anyway. Maybe he's not. I
Right,
don't know.
and probably because he's so skinny.
Them bones. Them bones.
Right. So, Devontae Smith understands how to protect himself. I'm not sure if Travis is there yet. And then on the other side, if he plays DB, I do have some concerns, like I mentioned earlier, like an Emmanuel Forbes going up against somebody like a AJ Brown or who's the guy from the Seahawks. His name's not coming to my head right now.
DK Metcalf.
Yes, DK Metcalf going up
he's a
against
problem
these
for anybody.
strong, right, strong, fast, physical receivers. You can't lock these guys up at the line. They're just going to push you out the way like you just don't exist.
Yeah.
But Greg 144. I'm sorry, I'm getting my numbers wrong. Greg 144 said Travis should be a receiver. Will be a good one. Has bulked up though. No later than 3rd round pick. 5th round is hilarious.
Real though, bro. For real, bro. You ain't lying. You ain't never lied, bro.
Bear with me as I'm reading comments. Bear with me as I'm reading comments, guys. I'm just trying to get there's no punctuation and grammar in there, so I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. Don't kill me, Greg. Don't kill me. It's just a joke.